In David Hume's essay titled Of the Standard of Taste, Hume lays out a philosophical and logical framework for how people can arrive at an aesthetic and stylistic consensus when it comes to the creative arts. He, unlike the skeptics at the time, believed that art and beauty could actually be reasoned to, and that the preferences in art weren't just subjective opinions but universal truths. He got to this conclusion through argumenting for a plethora of different propositions. And these are the propositions which can be found throughout the book. I have summarized them, but these are like, yeah, these are the arguments which he uses to like show that art can actually be reasoned to, and that it is not simply a subjective matter. Yeah. One, personal prejudice, external factors, bias, and emotions taint our ability to perceive the artwork as it was intended. So everything which makes it so we come to the canvas or the museum with a preconception of how the artwork is or how it should be, that taints our perceptions. Artworks have a specific image or idea, a goal they want to instill into the mind of the observer. Three, delicacy of artistic taste, the ability to perceive minute details within the art, is what differentiates the professional art critic from the average person. That is to see the different details within the art. For example, the minute details of, I guess, the color blue in a Van Gogh painting, or like how a certain like writer uses prose in his art. That's delicacy of artistic taste. Four, general rules of art serve as a way to ground one's praise and see beyond one's biases. That basically means that general rules of art help make it so we know why we like it, a certain artwork, and it also helps us see beyond our biases. So, say for example, we are biased against an artwork for whatever reason it may be. Looking at the general rules of art can make us look past our biases and see that it is actually objectively beautiful. Five, practice and exposure help develop a supreme standard of taste. Six, artworks need careful deliberation before their final verdict. Seven, to judge art well, you need to be well versed in a variety of different artists, styles, and works. 8. The complexity of a work takes cognitive effort to understand. Reason and beauty overlap. Through these 8 different propositions, Hume managed to argue into existence the objective beauty of an art piece, or the propensity for there to be an objective beauty. It is important to note that Hume does not claim that every artwork should be perceived equally, but that the standard of taste, how beautiful or great an artwork is something that can be grounded using reason. He wanted primarily to establish a framework which allowed for the justification of superiority of certain artworks over others. He wanted to show that art wasn't merely subjective and that there actually existed some form of good and bad in art. This exact framework, the 8 propositions listed above, allows us to establish a hierarchy of philosophical truths, truths which guide the way we live our lives. Everyone from teachers to artists, soldiers to the homeless, have their own reasons for acting as they do. Everyone has their own ideas and ideals they adhere to, a form of life philosophy, even if they do not belong to any strict philosophical school such as hedonism or nihilism. This life philosophy is often made up of personal experiences, personal background, and the culture one grew up in. This life philosophy is what allows people to establish a value hierarchy. It is our life philosophies which tell us whether we should get a job, live with our parents, go skydiving, live as a monk, or dedicate our lives to praising Jesus. Damn, voice crack. Our life philosophy, the medium through which we establish preference and desire, are the very building blocks of our decision making and lives. We are the way we are because of them, and they guide our lives whether we are aware whether we are aware of them or not. And as Hume argued, there exists superior and inferior sentiments of truth. He didn't argue that, I'm just lying, but one can infer that because beauty and truth, those are they kind of go hand in hand, and they are both very high flown ideas, you know? And some people mean that beauty and truth are actually interchangeable. But yeah, Some truth claims, and by extension life philosophies, are more justifiable than others. Some worldviews are finer, more pragmatic, or more educated than others, allowing the user to live a life better acquainted with the truth of the universe around them. This will, throughout the course of one's life, reduce misfortune, offer a stable source of meaning, and offer the person confidence in their choices. By reasoning their way to truth, and by extension their life philosophies, they will have picked the truth superior to most, giving themselves a leverage of confidence and direction in their life forward. These truth claims need not to be objective or universal to offer solace. They simply need to be truer than the average life philosophy. And the reason they only need to be truer than the average life philosophy is because I think, this is my personal opinion, humans will always compare themselves to each other. So, how well you are doing in life will always be compared to how well others are doing in life. And that's going to either cause pleasure or suffering, you know? Yeah, so even though like many people nowadays have, I guess, stable water, running water, they have food, they have a shelter over their heads, you know, they will still be unhappy and, I don't know, live in suffering because they keep comparing themselves to other people who have it better. That's just a personal notion. This idea is somewhat metaphysical. It establishes a certain epistemological order within the hierarchy of knowledge, running counter to postmodern thought. There will be skeptics who try to claim that knowledge or truth is subjective, but I believe that not to be the case. If Hume could establish a metaphysical order for the idea of taste and beauty, then one can apply this order to truth and knowledge. For, as Dostoevsky himself wrote, beauty will save the world. I just noticed how much this essay really derails, and I'm sorry about that, but just listen to me ramble. I don't care. We encounter also yet another problem when we look at the when we look at the individualistic state of the Western world. We are deeply individualized, caring only about how we feel, who we are, and what we aspire to become. All our notions of truth, morality, sense, and meaning come from our own ideas, not from external metaphysical orders. The extreme of this paradigm would be the total loss of epistemological direction. The loss of epistemological direction would be prevalent in all fields: math, philosophy, science, biology, etc. If the only truth is what we believe in, how we feel, and how we experience the world to be, if truth is subjective and truth claims don't have any epistemological hierarchical structure of value, then there would be no truth in the premise 1 plus 1 equals 2. All bachelors are unmarried, or Donald Trump is the current president of the United States of America. One skeptic would be able to spout the drivel that 1 plus 1 equals 3, and we would have no way to argue against him or disprove him. In short, the world needs to have a hierarchical epistemological structure of knowledge in order to be able to make sense of it. Truth is not subjective, and the very fact of your existence proves it. Actually, it didn't really derail. You know, I thought it would derail, but that final like paragraph there, I liked it because, I mean, truth cannot be subjective because someone could just come along and say, "No, Donald Trump isn't the current president of the United States," and you can't like you can't argue against that. You couldn't even argue against that, even if it's like just blatantly false. You wouldn't be able to argue against that. So it's like there needs to be some structure in order for anything to even make sense. Like either you believe that truth just doesn't exist, that everything is just I'm false, I guess, or you believe that there's some sort of structure which underlies the epistemological, I guess, foundation of the world. So yeah, and I think that Hume's essay of the standard of taste allows us to come to the bottom of this epistemological truth and allows us to find epistemological truths in, I don't know, just day to day lives, you know, just our day to day lives and day to day experiences. So yeah.